Nonverbal Communication Across Cultures, Module 4, Lecture 2. In this lecture, we will study about nonverbal communication and its importance in different cultures. Nonverbal communication is the transmission of message or signals through a nonverbal platform. What is being said is important, but how it is being said is also important. There are three elements that account for the feelings for the person who puts forward a message. Words account only for 7%. Tone of the voice accounts for 38%, whereas body language accounts for 55%. Important nonverbal communication includes tone of voice, use of silence, eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, conversational distance, and touching among others. We will study about all of these nonverbal communication methods in the preceding slides. Tone of voice. The tone of voice includes the pitch of the voice, the volume, the speed, and the variations in the voice. Some cultures communicate in higher volume and higher speed than other cultures in normal circumstances. For example, in the United States, loud, low-pitched, fast speed indicates dominance. In Germany, soft, low-pitched, breathy speeches indicate dominance. In addition, these and other features of the voice, such as accent, can indicate the cultural identity and the background of the speaker. Silence. Some cultures, such as United States, see talk as a more important part of communication. People from these cultures have low tolerance of silence, seeing it as something to be filled with conversation. However, silence is viewed differently in collective cultures, such as China and Japan. It is regarded as an important part of communication in these cultures. For example, in Japan, four meanings can be conveyed through silence. First, truthfulness. Second, social discretion, embarrassment, and defiance. In China, some people treat silence as a virtue and say that silence is golden. In business negotiation, some cultures tend to use talk as a control strategy, and other cultures tend to use silence as a control strategy. Eye contact. Different cultures have different norms and rules governing how long people should maintain eye contact during interactions. For example, in the United States, gazing is typically interpreted as a sign of friendliness. Persistent gazing is perceived as hostile or aggressive. Avoiding eye contact suggests shyness, unfriendliness, and insincerity. In Africa and some countries in Southeast Asia, gazing conveys anger. In Japan, people avoid eye contact. They look instead at the people's neck while talking. Facial expressions. Facial expression is an important way to convey information, especially emotions including anger, fear, sadness, disgust, happiness, and surprise. Different cultures attach different meanings to the same facial expressions. For example, in the United States, smiling is associated with happiness. In Japan, smiling is sometimes a sign of hiding displeasure, sorrow, and anger. In China, Smiling sometimes is seen as a lack of self-control and calmness. Gestures. A gesture is a form of non-verbal communication in which visible bodily actions communicate particular message, either in place of or with speech. Gestures include movements of the hands, face, or other parts of the body. Now, different cultures use these gestures differently. For example, in most cultures, people nod their head up and down to say yes and shake their heads from side to side so to say no. However, in Bulgaria, people do the opposite. They nod their head up and down to say no and shake their heads from side to side to say yes. Hence, we see that the same gesture can mean very different things in different cultures. Conversation distance. The personal space expands and contracts depending on factors such as relationship to the people nearby, the person's emotional state, or the cultural background and the activity being performed. The conversation distance people keep are: public distance is used for public speaking. Social distance is for interaction among acquaintances, whereas personal distance is for interacting among good friends or family members. According to Halls, different cultures maintain different standards of personal space when talking to each other. For example, Spanish people have smaller personal space than Danish people. It is important to gauge the conversation distance appropriate to different cultures so that people don't feel too distant or too close, and such awareness improves cross-cultural understanding. Touching. People from different cultures use touching behavior differently during conversations. Example, in North Europe, one does not touch other people. Even brushing of an overcoat sleeve can elicit an apology. Other low touching cultures include English, German, and Asians. In the Mediterranean, Eastern Europe, and Arabian cultures, people touch each other frequently during conversation as a sign of closeness, mutual trust, and friendliness. Thus, we see that nonverbal communication is important in cross-cultural communication. Also, the same gestures, postures, touching mannerisms, and space can mean differently in different countries and different culture. Thus, in a multicultural environment, we need to take care of these things. Thank you, and that's all for today's lecture.